Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's DevOps.com webinar. We're very excited that you've joined us. Our topic today is proactive Amazon RDS performance monitoring with Datadog. Today's webinar is sponsored by Datadog. My name is Mitch Ashley, and I'll serve as your host and moderator. A few housekeeping items. Webinar is being recorded, and all participants will receive an email with a link to the recording as well as a copy of the slides. So you can sit back, really absorb the content from our speaker today, and maybe take a few notes knowing that you'll have this information available to you in the future. Also, we're giving away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. Not bad during the shopping season to have a little bit of extra money. Hang on until the end of the webinar, find out if you're one of our winners. I know our speaker, who's very good, loves questions, and we'll be happy to answer those towards the end of the webinar. So please enter those into the GoToWebinar questions tab at any time, and we'll catch those, pick up on those later. Now let's move on to our topic, proactive Amazon RDS performance monitoring with Datadog. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce today's speaker, who's Jimmy Caputo, Senior Product Manager with Datadog. Well, without further delay, Jimmy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, thanks, Mitch. Thanks everyone for joining us today. As Mitch said, I'm a senior product manager here at Datadog, and I'm responsible for all of our cloud integrations, including our integrations with Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, and other cloud providers. So excited to be here today. So we'll kick things off with a short introduction to Datadog. Then I'll go into a bit more details about how Datadog integrates with AWS in general. Then we'll talk a bit about how you can monitor Amazon's relational database service with Datadog. We'll spend a good chunk of the time on a demo where we'll show live how you can monitor all aspects of RDS with Datadog. And then we'll conclude with a few minutes of Q&A before the drawing that Mitch mentioned. So to kick things off, we've got a quick poll question just to gauge your familiarity with Datadog.
Great, we've launched the poll. How familiar are you with Datadog? Should be a pretty straightforward one to fill out. You're a current customer user, you've tried it, not currently using it, you're aware, but haven't used it, hadn't heard of it before. So poll is open. If you'd please just respond to that. We'll get a feel for the familiarity of our audience with Datadog. So got great responses. So we'll keep the poll open just for another 10 seconds or so. Try to get as many people's response in who'd like to participate. So looks like we're getting pretty close there. Okay, we'll stop the poll here in 3, 2, 1. All righty, let's show the results there. Looks like we've got half the audience haven't used it before, and some, a good number of folks that are either using it or have used it.
Great, yeah, so it sounds like we've got a mixture of people in the audience with different levels of familiarity, but we'll give a quick overview now so that we're all on the same page about what Datadog is.
Great, back to you.
All right. So diving into Datadog, before I talk about the capabilities, just want to take a step back and explain, what problem does Datadog try to solve, and basically what Datadog is designed for are modern, complex environments. Traditional monitoring tools just weren't really built with these use cases in mind. Modern software applications, use dozens of different technologies. They run over hundreds, or in some cases thousands, of different compute units that are communicating with each other across complex topologies, like you can see here. And compounding this, software development teams are also deploying updates more frequently than ever to get features in front of customers. So what this means is traditional tools that were designed to solve individual point problems just really can't provide the holistic picture that software development teams need to understand what's going on in their environment and troubleshoot issues when they come up. And that's where Datadog comes in. That's where we can help. Datadog is a unified observability, a software as a service platform. We take in multiple different data sources, metrics, traces, logs, user activity, other metadata about your cloud and on-premise environments. We have pre-built integrations with over 400 different technologies like Amazon RDS, which is the focus of today's webinar. And we bring all that data into one unified platform where we provide analytics, visualization, and alerting to serve a variety of different use cases, monitoring your infrastructure, doing application performance management, understanding, searching and analyzing your logs, as well as direct user experience monitoring. And most recently, we also introduced a network performance monitoring and security monitoring product. And so what this means is all of your different teams, your development teams, your operations teams, your security teams, your support staff, and even business users all have a single pane of glass where you can understand what's going on with your applications and infrastructure. So Datadog has you covered no matter what technologies you're using in your stack. And we've got thousands of different customers across many different industries, as you can see here, both large customers, small customers, traditional enterprises, as well as newer companies, all using Datadog for the use cases I just mentioned. So that's a quick overview of what Datadog does. Now let me talk about our integration with Amazon Web Services in a bit more detail. Of those 400 integrations I was mentioning, we've got over 70 that are pre-built integrations with various AWS services. You can see here a screenshot of our integration gallery from our application, just highlighting some of the different technologies that we integrate with across the AWS ecosystem. So pretty much every popular AWS service that's available, Datadog integrates with it and can pull in metrics, logs, and other types of data from that service. So you can get a top to bottom understanding of what's going on with that service that you're using, and also view that in the context of your broader application and all the other services that you're using. So each of these integrations comes with a number of different things, including a default dashboard, which gets you started quickly. So what this is kind of an out-of-the-box view into that particular service, highlighting the different metrics and other types of data like events that we think are important for you to look at if you're using that service and monitoring it. And I'll dive into this in a lot more detail during the demo and show how you can even take these pre-built dashboards and then customize them to get exactly the view that you want. So super easy to get started. Lots of capabilities just available to you right out of the box with our AWS integration. So now we'll talk a bit more about how we actually integrate with Amazon RDS. So I'll go into quite a bit more detail about some of the concepts I just mentioned, how we pull in data from your AWS accounts to give you performance insights into RDS. But before we do that, we just have one more poll question to understand a bit more about how you're using Amazon RDS.
All righty, we've launched that poll. How are you currently using RDS? Using it across multiple teams and applications. Have tried it but not currently using. Know about it, but haven't used it. and not using it and don't know much about it. Sounds like the lines from a country music song. Here we go. All righty, we're getting some good responses here. Great audience participation. Thanks for participating in our polls, everyone. Really helps Jimmy know kind of how the topic is best suited to talk with you about. So looks like we're pretty close to filling out what we need here. I'm going to close the poll in about 5 seconds here. So we'll close that in 3, 2, 1. And let's share those results. A lot of folks using RDS, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's great. So it seems like we've got an audience who's pretty familiar with it. A lot of people have also heard about it, and we have a few people who aren't using it and don't know much about it. But I think we'll still get value out of the content here. So
great.
All right.
Back to you.
Thanks. So let me just kind of give a bit more of a deep dive into how Datadog integrates with RDS, and then we'll jump into the demo where you'll be able to see what this actually looks like in Datadog and what you can do with all this data that we're pulling. So what you're seeing here is just a basic architecture diagram showing how Datadog pulls in metric data as well as resource data from RDS. So we have two different sources that we can use to get the metrics that Amazon makes available from RDS. One, in the middle here, you can see how RDS generates metrics and publishes them to Amazon's CloudWatch service. So as part of our Datadog AWS integration, we can pull in all those metrics from CloudWatch. So we'll automatically pull the CloudWatch APIs on a regular basis and ingest all those available metrics into Datadog that are being emitted from your RDS instances. Another interesting thing we can do is you can also use a piece of software we call the Datadog agent. The agent is a small application that you deploy on your hosts, like your EC2 instances, for example, and that can also communicate directly with the different database engines that RDS supports. So that can pull some native metrics from the database, MySQL, Postgres, et cetera, that Amazon doesn't make available via CloudWatch. And then the agent will submit those metrics back to the Datadog backend, which is, by the way, as I was saying, a software as a service application. So the Datadog backend is not something that you need to manage and scale up or scale down yourself. It's a software as a service application that's entirely managed for you. And then another thing that we do is we also query various APIs to collect additional metadata and tags about your RDS instances and apply those to those metrics, even beyond what CloudWatch directly makes available. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an understanding of how we can pull in a wide variety of different metrics that are useful for monitoring your RDS instances. We also have full support for enhanced metrics, which is another service that RDS makes available. So you can publish those metrics and you can forward those to Datadog as well via another open source project we call the Datadog Forwarder, which is a Lambda function that can basically read the enhanced metrics from CloudWatch logs, automatically trigger whenever anything new is published, and then send those metrics to the Datadog backend. And those enhanced metrics give you more visibility into what's going on with the internals of your database that can be useful for figuring out whether you should scale up your RDS instance, for example, and we'll see how we can use those in the demo in just a minute here. All right. But of course, metrics are only one part of the story when it comes to monitoring your database. So in addition to that, we can also ingest any database logs that get published from RDS as well. If you're sending those to CloudWatch logs or S3, you can automatically send those on to Datadog via the Datadog forwarder Lambda function that I was mentioning. And we've got a number of different ways you can deploy all these components that make it as simple as possible to stand up the various pieces that you see here. Lastly, in terms of the kind of flow of data and integration setup, I just wanted to highlight something that we launched relatively recently over the summer, which is an integration with Amazon's Kinesis Data Firehose service. The Kinesis Data Firehose is basically a managed service which lets you stream data and then send it to different endpoints. So you can send your CloudWatch logs to a Kinesis Data Firehose, and then that will automatically send them to the Datadog backend via our API. And if you go into the Kinesis Data Firehose console within AWS, you'll see Datadog listed as a built-in destination. So this is one more way that we provide for you to get your data from your AWS environment into Datadog, where you can use it to visualize the health and performance of your environment, set up alerts, troubleshoot issues, etc. So a number of different ways that we integrate to get the data in. We pull in key data types, including different kinds of metrics, as well as logs. So you really have everything you need in order to proactively monitor your RDS instances in Datadog. All right, well, hopefully that gives you an understanding of how Datadog fits in and how we can pull data into Datadog from AWS. Without further ado now, we'll jump into a demo which will show what you can actually do with all this data that I was just talking about us ingesting. All right, so what you're seeing here is the Datadog application, and we are looking at the event stream, which is basically a timeline of events that we ingest from AWS via CloudWatch, so another data type that we pull in. We'll zoom out here to a 4-hour time window. You can see a number of different events about backups, snapshots being created. You can filter these by priority and status. So you get a nice overview timeline of things that are going on with your RDS instances. You can leave comments on here so other people on the team know what happened and why. And now we'll jump over to our dashboards. As you can see, we've got a number of different dashboards for different database engines. This is showing an example of a pre-built dashboard, like I was mentioning just a minute ago. We'll zoom in on this particular visualization here, where we're looking at the different database connections within our AWS account. We can see the number of connections by instance type. And I'll go ahead and hone in here on this monitor state replica instance that was looking a bit lower than the other instance that we saw there. It's really easy to zoom out and look at longer periods of time. I'll go ahead and pause the video for a second here. And you can do a number of different things when you are looking at these metrics from a dashboard. Really easy to pivot to different kinds of views. Out of the box, you can look at correlated metrics. So Datadog will automatically try to figure out what other metrics are correlated with the metric that you're currently looking at. If you're looking at something that's being emitted from a server, you can look at related processes or hosts. In this case, since we're looking at RDS, which is a managed service, we'll go ahead and dive into the logs that are related to this particular database instance that we've hovered over in the chart here. So I'll just give that a second, and we'll jump over to the logs. And here we can see any logs that have come in from the last hour that are also tagged with this particular database instance identifier. Datadog parses out all the key attributes from the logs automatically, so you don't have to worry about building parsers or making sense of this log data. You can easily search it using the facets that you see on the left here, as well as the query bar at the top. If we zoom out to the 1 week view, we can see a number of additional logs, including some recent errors that look like they recovered. But if we go out even further and look at the past month of log data, we can see quite a few additional errors that were happening. And one thing we can do is we can click on the pattern button above here. And what that will do is automatically go through all of the logs and group them by common patterns. So you can see a list here of all the individual logs that match that particular pattern, which was at the top of the list. And then you can immediately jump in and graph this information. It's taking a second here because we're doing a 4-hour roll-up, but what we'll see is a count of events that matched this particular pattern. Zooming in a little bit on the particular time when we saw more of those events, we can get a zoomed in view. And you can also save this view, which you can see here. So what this does is basically save this analysis so that you can easily refer back to it. Other people on the team can also find this in the list of saved views. So let me pause here for a second, because I know that was a lot of information. Just to recap, we've looked at all of the logs that Datadog was collecting from RDS. We honed in on a particular pattern of errors that seem to be happening quite frequently, and we graphed that and drilled down to a particular period where we saw a lot of those errors. Now, there are a couple of different things you could do from this point. You can basically export this to a dashboard if you want to be able to come back to this analysis. We already added it as a saved view, but you can also embed it in a dashboard so you can view it alongside visualizations related to other metrics, either from RDS or other parts of your infrastructure. You can also directly from here create a monitor. So we'll go ahead and drill into that. And what this is doing is basically setting up a monitor so you can be proactively notified when there's this type of error occurring in the future. You can set both a warning threshold as well as an alerting threshold. You can specify a rich message for the monitor and including using some markdown syntax, so you can include some pretty dynamic content that will help people who are receiving this notification understand what they should do. We're just inserting some placeholder text here, as you can see. Then you can choose who you want to notify about this. Either you can specify it directly in the message as you see here. So I'm going to send Ryan McLean an email anytime this monitor fires. Oops. Looks like we jumped over to the next slide there, but what we're showing there was the ability to configure where your notification should go. So you can basically route your notifications to any number of different destinations. You can send them via email to people. You could also send the notifications to Slack channel. We have integrations with PagerDuty and other notification systems as well. So pretty flexible setup in terms of how you route those notifications for alerting. So now we'll transition over to the next part of the demo. And we're back on the event timeline here. And from here, we'll jump into a bit more about the dashboards. So this is just showing another example of a pre-built dashboard. In this case, we're looking at Postgres in particular. But the one I'm going to focus on is MySQL. So here you can see a rich MySQL dashboard that tells you a lot of different things about the volume of queries, about disk I/O, usage of other system resources. Similarly, you can get a view for RDS Aurora, excuse me, that will show you query volume, disk I/O, basically the same things we were showing for MySQL. Now, another part of Datadog that we haven't talked about yet is our application performance monitoring and distributed tracing solution. So we've drilled here into the service list, which is basically a list of all the different services that you have in your environment. You can look at that both in a list view. You can also look at this service map, which is auto-generated and basically shows you all of the different interconnections between different microservices that you have. You can also see what services are interacting with your different databases on here, including RDS databases. And the service map will show you some high-level metrics about requests and latency. But from here, you can easily inspect what's going on with this database further. And then one particularly powerful thing you can do is you can look at all of the related traces. You can see a live view over the past 15 minutes. So this is auto refreshing as additional traces come in. So you're seeing a live feed of all of the queries that are happening on this particular database. And you can drill into an individual trace to see a lot of detail about one particular request. You can see what the query was here. At the top, you can see a flame graph showing you all the different components of this trace. So where the request originated, where it went, and what ultimately called your database. You can also look at related logs. So we were just showing there how you can see any logs that were emitted when this trace was generated, which can be an easy way to understand what's going on with a particular request. Sorry, it's some issues here with the clicking on the video. Jump back to where we just were. So If I zoom out on the trace, like I was saying, I can see that particular database request in the full context. And in this case, we can actually see that the time spent with the database on the database was relatively small. So probably not a major concern if I'm trying to optimize this request. If I want to see multiple requests in a more graphical fashion, I can use our analytics capabilities, or trace analytics. So we basically plotted over time all of those queries, and we have zoomed out here to a 4-hour window. So we can see over time a count of how many times that particular query executed. If I click on any particular window, I can jump into all of the traces associated with that count. So I can see there's quite a bit of variance here in duration. So maybe there's something going on that I need to look into. Maybe particular periods my database is starved of resources, or in this case, what we've actually seeing is a 500 internal server error with one of the services that was calling my database. So maybe users are complaining that the database is slow or it's not working, but you can see here how you can use Datadog to connect all the dots and understand where is the error actually coming from. And in that particular example, it looked like it was coming more from the application server rather than the database. So that was application performance monitoring and distributed tracing. Now let's go back to the dashboard again, and I'll show off some more of our dashboarding capabilities. So again, we're looking at the default dashboard that comes out of the box with RDS, drilling into a particular AWS account here. You can also drill down into particular regions, availability zones, or even individual databases. You can see for that particular region, all of the metrics associated with databases running in that region. I can also look at databases of a particular class if I want to understand if certain kinds of databases are performing better or worse. This dashboard doesn't give an example of it, but you could use Datadog to compare the relative performance of different sizes of databases. If you have different instance sizes serving different parts of your application. So more of the metrics you can see here. Again, the number of connections, connections by instance, what the replication lag is if you've set up a replication of your database. We're seeing both time series views over time, which can help you spot trends. Also these kinds of top list views where you can easily identify outliers, particular instances that might need attention. And of course, any of these things that you're seeing here, you can also easily set up alerts for them so that you get proactively notified. Another thing that could be very important to look at if you're optimizing the performance of your databases is the disk queue. So we can see here a stacked chart showing disk queue length based on the different databases that we've set up. And if we drill into this particular Oracle database, now we've kind of zoomed back out and we're looking at all the different databases and looking at Datadog's anomaly detection feature. So you can see the shaded areas here give you an indication of what's expected. Let's go ahead and pause this here for a second. And so you can quickly kind of visually understand Sorry, I keep having some issues with clicking on the screen, unfortunately. I'm exiting the video, so let me find my place there. Well, anyway, what I'm showing here is we have a number of different transformation functions that can be applied to these metrics. So you can look at anomalies, you can look at trends over time, you can extrapolate using our trending functionality to do a forecast of something like disk usage. And all these dashboards that I've been showing can easily be modified too. So you can customize them to get exactly the views that you want. So here showing one last example, which is our RDS Enhanced Metrics dashboard. So I mentioned this as another type of data that we can collect, which gives you much more rich information about the actual health of the database instance, even though in the case of RDS, this is managed by AWS, but you can understand more details about memory consumption and CPU utilization. Here I can quickly clone this view so that I can start customizing this out-of-the-box dashboard to meet my specific needs, maybe combining these enhanced metrics with some of the other metrics we were just looking at, or metrics from my systems that are talking to my database, so I can have a single view where I can see everything that's going on. You can easily modify the size here of any of these widgets. And then you can take this and you can share your dashboards as well. So as we'll see here in a second, you can basically share this dashboard via a public URL. Clicking on that here now. So you can make this available to anyone with the link if you wanted to publish this out to a broader audience within your organization. I can set some default values for the scope of what people are looking at. So if I want the dashboard to automatically be scoped to a particular environment, I can do that. I can set what the default time frame is. So again, what we're doing here is kind of showing all the different ways you can collaborate around Datadog. You can build dashboards that let you understand the health and performance of your RDS instances, other Amazon services, of your own applications. You can share those out directly. You can create alerts for any of those parts of your stack. Those alerts can automatically be sent out via email, Slack, other communication channels. So that was a quick kind of demo of a number of the different RDS monitoring capabilities that we have in Datadog. So just to kind of recap some of the things that we saw there, we saw how metrics can help you understand the utilization of your instances. You can spot particular instances that need further attention. We saw how we can use logs to troubleshoot issues further. We can group those logs into patterns to immediately see common sources of errors. We also looked at our distributed tracing capabilities and how you can use that to understand if your database is really the issue or if slowness in your application is coming from another source. And then we showed how you can take any of this data and collaborate around it using dashboards within Datadog, as well as notifications that Datadog can publish out to other tools you might be using. So now we'll go ahead and do a few minutes of Q&A. So if you've got questions, go ahead and pop them into the go to webinar questions tab. We'll go ahead and get started with those in a second.
Okay, Jimmy. Well, good. Let's
I'm not hearing you, Mitch. I don't know if it's just me.
Here we go. If I can manage to hit all the buttons, then now we're good. Hear me okay, Jimmy?
Yep.
Great. First question we have is, how do I set up the Datadog AWS integration if I have many AWS accounts?
Yeah, it's a great question. So as we showed, there are a number of different integration points and ways you can pull in data from your AWS environment. So we have several tools to help you get spun up quickly. So we provide CloudFormation templates. We also integrate with other infrastructure automation tools like Terraform. So if you're using those kinds of tools to automate the provisioning of different AWS resources, you can also use them to automatically provision those different Datadog integration points, like the Datadog forwarder function that I was showing, as well as the roles and permissions that are needed for us to call different AWS APIs. So I'd say that's the common way we see users who've got a lot of different AWS accounts quickly getting all that stood up across their accounts.
Very good, very good. How about next question is, does Datadog charge for the integration?
Got it. Yeah, great question. So what we showed today was a number of different Datadog products. All of our pricing is public and available on our website pricing page. The RDS integration that I showed, those dashboards and the metrics, is all part of our infrastructure monitoring product. So you get all that. Our log management solution is a separate product, and the way we charge for that is pretty unique in the industry. We actually separate out the price to ingest the logs from the price to index and retain them. And what that basically means is you can get a live view into your logs as they're being generated and sent to Datadog, and then you can decide which logs you actually want to retain for further analysis later on. So you can very cost effectively route all your logs to Datadog, use Datadog's sophisticated parsing capabilities, pre-built parsers to structure those logs, and then you choose which ones you actually want to index and retain. So a very flexible model there. And then I also highlighted a bit of our distributed tracing and application performance monitoring suite, which is another separate product that we charge based on the number of hosts that you're monitoring. So all available on the Datadog website under the pricing tab. You can get much more information about what's included in each product and what the price is.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. How about other kinds of databases that Datadog can monitor? We had a few questions on that topic.
Yeah, good question. So, we talked a lot about the AWS integration, how Datadog fits in with different database engines within the context of RDS. But as you can imagine, many of the capabilities that I showed can be applied to other kinds of databases as well. So amongst the 400 different integrations we have integrations with other relational databases, whether you are running them yourself, self-managed, or whether they're other kinds of managed services, including things like AWS DocumentDB and DynamoDB. So we've got pre-built integrations with pretty much every popular self-managed or managed for you database service that's out there. And another thing I'll say is we are always adding new integrations too. At Datadog, we'd like to be on the forefront. So as new technologies are becoming available and gaining in popularity, we'll prioritize integrating with them. I think a year or so ago we had quite a fewer integrations. Now we're up over 400. So we're constantly building new integrations. Awesome. Other questions?
See, I'm just looking, kind of scanning the questions here. How about other environments, non-AWS environments like Azure, Oracle Cloud, Google? What do you operate in those spaces?
Yeah, another excellent question. So just like we integrate with AWS, we have similar integrations with both Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, we have integrations with some other cloud providers as well. So we can do similar things where we can collect metrics and logs from services that those cloud providers have, which are comparable to AWS. We actually just announced over the last couple months strategic partnerships with both Microsoft and Google. And for the first time, I think ever, a third-party tool, which is Datadog, is going to be embedded directly within the Azure console. So you'll be able to set up and manage what Azure resources are monitored with Datadog directly from the Azure Management Console, which is something we're really excited about. So we continue to deepen our integrations and relationships with all of the major cloud providers, not just AWS. And that's something that our customers really value about Datadog. Most of our customers, particularly larger organizations, are pursuing a multi-cloud strategy. It's not something they're just saying, it is something that they're actually doing now. And so having one monitoring platform where they can get visibility across all the different clouds is really valuable to them, because their applications aren't running all in one cloud provider.
Good. There are other options available that in the monitoring space, things like CloudWatch, CloudTrail. Do any thoughts on differentiators for Datadog?
Yeah, sure. So before that, we try to integrate and be complementary with other tools that are out there. So as I was explaining, CloudWatch is a source of some of the data that I was showing in these slides and the demo. We work very closely with that team at AWS. CloudTrail as well, which is a solution for generating audit trails of activity in your AWS account. We can ingest all of those audit logs into Datadog and help you make sense of them for operations as well as for security purposes. So we try to fit in with all these other tools that are out there and let you use Datadog in tandem with them if you prefer a particular tool for a particular use case. And then I think some of the things I was saying around our solution is all software as a service, so you don't have to worry about scaling up Datadog, managing infrastructure. It's all managed for you. We span all of the major different clouds as well as hundreds of other technologies via our comprehensive library of applications. And we also try to cover all the different use cases in a single unified product. So we haven't just stitched together a bunch of disparate solutions. It is truly a unified solution where you can pivot between different types of data and different use cases, whether it's looking at your infrastructure for operational purposes or security monitoring. It's all very tightly integrated in one unified platform.
Very good. How about ways of monitoring changes to tables in RDS?
Got it. Yeah, that is definitely something that we can do. That's an interesting question. I'm trying to think about that one. Certainly, anything that RDS publishes in the logs, you'd be able to ingest that information into Datadog, and then you could use the pattern recognition that I was demonstrating, or the log analytics, to figure out if particular table creation or deletion or altering steps were taking place, or if that information also shows up in other services like CloudTrail. We can ingest it that way as well.
All right, very good. Let's see here. Trying to think about I'm just looking over the questions here. Some of them are repeats of what we talked about. One question was, can you use a custom query language to extract some reports related to latency, bandwidth, concurrency? How can customers get access to that kind of information, if they can?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of the benefits of Datadog is you don't need to know any kind of custom query language in order to analyze your metrics or your logs. You can use the tools that we provide in the UI to filter down to specific tags that are applied to your metrics, or to specific attributes associated with your logs. I didn't show it during the demo, but we also have a kind of more advanced way of inputting your metric queries. So you're not purely limited to the point and click interface. We do have a kind of a query syntax that lets you specify how you want to aggregate things and group and filter them. But it's powerful, but we also strive to make it as simple as possible and make it really easy to learn. So there's not a steep learning curve to Datadog. You don't need to learn a whole new proprietary search language, but we do offer that kind of advanced querying capability if you find that a better input method than just relying on the GUI point and click interface. So hopefully that answers that question. I'm not sure exactly what the person was getting at there.
Okay, yeah, I think they're just really looking at, you answered it. How can I get access to information really that Datadog is collecting, and do some query language?
One other thought there just came to mind. We also have a comprehensive suite of APIs too, so you can access most of the data that is in Datadog programmatically via our APIs. And as we add new products, we always try to make them available via API as well. And one thing we see actually is customers that have large footprints and large numbers of dashboards and large numbers of monitors across their infrastructure actually tend to manage Datadog programmatically using those APIs. So they'll take our dashboards and monitors can all be exported as JSON. So many of our customers will store those entities as JSON files in some kind of version management system like GitHub. And then if there are updates to either of those, they'll treat them as as code, where someone will actually make a change, check it in. There will be a pull request and a review process, and then they'll deploy it. So this way, they have a full version history of those resources. Can easily revert back. They can easily templatize them and build new dashboards and monitors as they bring new teams online and expand their infrastructure. So that's another kind of way you can get at and use the things you're setting up in Datadog.
Great. One of our participants asked about auditing capability. You mentioned some things about check in, check out where you're programmatically accessing. Are there any other auditing kind of capabilities? I'm assuming they mean audit trails, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're referring to Datadog itself, but many of the actions you take in Datadog also show up in that event stream that I showed at the beginning, and you can also set up alerts directly on those events that show up in the event stream. So that gives you kind of a basic audit trail of activity that's going on in your account. And then in terms of audit trail for your AWS environment, as I mentioned, we have a deep integration with CloudTrail. That could be a subject of a whole other webinar. And so we can ingest those CloudTrail logs and help you understand what kind of actions are going on in your AWS environment, and if there's anything that you should be concerned about from a security monitoring standpoint.
All right, very good. I think that about wraps up our questions. We're getting near the top of the hour too. And thank you, Jimmy, for putting the URL up on our page here that you're sharing, so folks can go see your own host of solutions for working with AWS. So excellent job on our presentation today and your demo. Really a lot of great information, very content rich. So it sounds like from the questions, folks had a really good interaction with you and the information that you were sharing, and caused some good stimulating questions. So, well, on behalf of myself and Jimmy and the team here, we're happy to bring this webinar to you. I do want to announce our 4 gift card winners. Our 4 winners are Alejandra S., Mike C., Stephen L., and Philip T. The folks here at DevOps.com will be getting a hold of you about how to get those gift cards. Also, just a reminder, we are recording this webinar. We'll send out an email with links to the recording and slides so everybody can have access to those. Also, remember to check out DevOps.com for other great webinars by Datadog and others. Got some really good content up there. Jimmy Caputo, Senior Product Manager, fantastic job. Really enjoyed hearing your presentation today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. And of course, I'd like to thank our audience as well. You spend an entire hour with us. Your time is super valuable, and we're honored that you would spend it with us. It's been my pleasure hosting today's webinar, so be safe, be well, and everybody be careful out there.